You know, we're seeing a lot with robots today, and there's a lot of concern out there that robots are taking our jobs away. Robots have some dangers. We're even hearing from some very famous people who are really, really smart saying, hey, 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 these things could be bad. Yet we also see there's some good. And, the other day I got a chance to see a book, I read a book called Robot Attitude. It's right here. And boy, it really helped me to see what robots can do, how they do it. And it's written by Dr. John Patrick. And so I thought, let's get him on the screen here. And he's joining us now from his home there in Connecticut. Dr. Patrick, it is wonderful to have you here with us today.
Great to be here, Terry.
Really appreciate your books. Now, this is the most recent in a series of them called the Attitude Series, where you talk about elections, you've talked about homes, you've talked about a number of things. I got to say, I've read your books before and they're good. This one, you even raised the bar higher. It is amazing what you talk about. Tell us a little bit, kind of the 35,000 foot point of view. What is covered in Robot Attitude?
Okay, well, thanks very much, Terry. Yeah, robots and artificial intelligence are on the way. There's no stopping it. They're here and their presence is growing, and soon will touch every aspect of our business and personal lives. Yes, there are some dangers. There are some things to be concerned about. As you point out, some of the most bright people in the world have expressed some of these concerns, and I don't deny them, but I think there's a positive side. And in fact, all technologies, as we know, have the possibility to do good things and also have the possibility to do some not so good things.
Absolutely. I think we've seen that from the beginning of history. You and I are both professional speakers. We talk to people about these things. I often say, well, when Og came up with this thing called fire in the cave eons ago, there was dangers and there was good. It's like, oh, this fire, it can destroy, it can kill people. It can, well, yeah, that's true, but also it can keep you warm. It can heat your food, et cetera, et cetera. But I think we've seen that throughout history, haven't we?
Absolutely right. And that's not going to change. So
yep.
What the book is about is attitude. It's all about attitude is the name of the series. And in this case, Robot Attitude, it's about how can we make this technology work for us? How can we make it do good things? How can we make it improve our lives? How can we work with robots, not against robots? And I believe if we embrace these new technologies, things can really improve in healthcare, in home care, in manufacturing, in agriculture, and basically in all aspects of our business and personal lives. There's something there to make things better.
Yes, I agree. I think that that's important. And one of the things you and I have talked about before, and we were talking about before we even started this recording, was it reminds me of what happened with the Luddites. The famous Luddites who in the early 1800s were concerned that looms were going to put people out of business. And you know what? They were right. But they went in and they were violent even. They violently would destroy the looms and things like that. I think there's, throughout history, we're scared of something that we don't understand. And robots seem to be that way. What is really the help to cure that, to help people to understand, wait a minute, yes, these looms are going to take away some jobs, but there's a bright side. What is that bright side?
Well, the bright side is that things will improve for many people. There are a lot of jobs that people actually don't want because they're dangerous, because they're involving lifting of things that will hurt your back. In the case in Japan at Fukushima, where there were radioactive materials that needed to be moved around, that was all done by robots. That's not something humans would want to do. So robots do fill a gap of those things that are dangerous, those things that are inaccessible or nearly impossible for humans to do. And there's a new class of robots emerging called cobots.
Yes, you talk about that in your book. What in the world is a cobot and how do we use that?
Yeah, a cobot is a collaborative robot. In other words, it works with humans, not replacing humans, but helping humans to be more productive. I particularly like a bartender in the Netherlands, a gentleman that owns a bar there that has this huge shelf of fancy wines and liquors and spirits of various kind, and it's more than 20 feet high. And there's a robot that goes and fetches the correct drink and pours it and sets it on the bar.
Well, there's a practical positive application of robots right off the bat. I like that one.
Yeah, right there. It's a good one. And the owner says, you know, what I like about this is not replacing my bartender. This is enabling my bartender to spend more time talking to customers so they'll buy more drinks.
Absolutely. I think that's the key. And this is what we can look at with robots. They're doing those jobs, like you mentioned with Fukushima and radioactive areas where, like mining, for instance, I could see robots being used, and they are being used in mining, dangerous situations where human beings have lost their lives because of mishaps for many, many years. And now it's a little different. One of the things you talk about in your book, I want to kind of zero in on this, the benefits of healthcare and how robots are helping surgeons. Some people might say, wait a minute, I don't know if I want a robot operating on me. I want a real human being. Talk to us about the situation with that and the pros and cons of it.
Well, robotic surgery is really emerging quite rapidly in the healthcare space. I've actually had this done to myself.
You mentioned that in the book.
Yeah, I'm speaking firsthand about this. It's not an independent robot that's autonomously cutting you open and doing something to you. It's an assistant. You could think of it as a cobot that gives the surgeon capabilities not possible before. For example, it automatically reverses the image so that they see it correctly inside. It gives them the ability to perform at a level of detail not possible manually. And suppose you have a surgeon that has a little quiver in their hand, that the robot removes that quiver, provides magnification. The result is surgical incisions that are much smaller, more precise, more accurate, less bleeding, quicker healing. So there are many benefits to come. But artificial intelligence also has significant benefits in healthcare, and this is one of the areas I'm most optimistic about. You know, in the area of diagnosis, doctors, for the most part, diagnose based on anecdotal information. Oh, well, I've seen this case before. Mm-hmm. Take this medication, come back and see me in 3 weeks. It just is automatic, but not necessarily accurate.
Yeah, it could have spotty results, sometimes correct and sometimes inaccurate.
Exactly right. I have two friends who are pulmonologists. They listen to your chest, and between the two of them, they've practiced for more than 75 years. They listen to your chest, they know exactly what's going on and can provide a perfectly accurate diagnosis. But most people don't have that kind of experience. And in fact, residents that are just entering the field of pulmonology, they don't have that experience. Well, suppose that the stethoscope could capture the information. In other words, what the doctor hears is actually converted to digital information, is uploaded to the cloud, and is compared to, let's say, 10 million samples that had previously been diagnosed. This is the sample of what was heard. This is what the diagnosis was. The accuracy skyrockets to the point where a nurse can listen to the chest, get that data, get the diagnosis, and have better accuracy than the resident in training would be able to produce.
I think that's brilliant, and I think we can see a lot of benefits there. One of the things I like about your book is robot attitude. When I read it, I thought, oh, this is all about robots. Well, yeah, it's robots, but also AI. And you look at a number of different areas, but I can see, going back to that health exam, for instance, they not only are they going to listen to my heart and understand that based on those millions of others there, but they say, wait a minute, if it's a 65-year-old woman who has this type of blood and it's Thursdays when it's raining in Bangkok, or whatever variables they're going to use, they can find something that's going to be unique, because what worked in one case might not work in another based on just the experience of that doctor. But now we use big data and the artificial intelligence coupled with robots. I'm thinking the future is looking a lot better already.
Yeah, no, the way you said it is exactly right. It's all about data. So in the past, there's been data that's been collected but put down on a piece of paper and put in the drawer. That's not really data. You know, that's just an artifact. But now the data is becoming digitized, it's uploaded to the cloud, it's standardized in format, and it's accessible to everybody to see what this data is all about. And the rate at which data is growing is exponential. And the cost of storing that data is declining exponentially. So we have a very unique set of things going on here, with a dramatic increase in data, a dramatic increase in the amount of processing capability available, a dramatic decrease in the cost of the storage and the capacity of the storage increasing, and thousands of people dedicated to understanding artificial intelligence and making it work for us. And in particular in healthcare, I'm very optimistic that it's not perfect yet, certainly, but it's getting better literally every single day because the amount of data increases.
Yep, absolutely. We're talking with Dr. John Patrick about his newest book, Robot Attitude, looking at more than just robots, but how technology really can make life better for us. And one of the areas you talked about was also something I hadn't thought of. I thought, yeah, this is kind of robotics, but I love the way you put it in the book with drones. And drones being used for many tasks that before we couldn't do, and now we're seeing them used in areas like delivery, and even one thing that I want to explore with you about the possibilities for transportation and how that will affect our life and how that will change attitudes. If I can fly from here, I live in Orlando, Florida, I could get from here over to Cape Canaveral, they said in about 11 minutes on a helicopter. I thought, oh, really? That's kind of interesting. Think about that, and I want to examine how that could change the price of real estate and how that could affect what is going on. I could buy a house that's a flight of 10, 11 minutes away from places long away. Seems like that's going to have some real positive effects. What are your thoughts on how drones are going to affect our world?
Yeah, I think drones were really at the very beginning. They range from little bitty drones that I could build with my grandkids, which I did a few weeks ago. With little bitty drones about 6 inches in diameter, and it's flying around, running into trees, and so on. But drones at the other extreme can be quite large, such as the military drones, which defend us and reduce the amount of peril and risk of pilots who are defending us, and then everything in between, including delivery, but also performing tasks that are virtually impossible by humans. For example, inspecting the quality and the issues arising with the Great Wall of China. If you've ever been there, it's this tremendous wall, and it's beginning to show signs of age. Well, where are those signs of age, and where are the riskiest parts? Well, it would be quite a difficult task to be able to climb up the side of part of this wall, or to go from the top down with a rope, whereas the drone can fly there, can zero in and provide the exact latitude and longitude and a high resolution picture of a particular spot that needs to be repaired. So there are so many examples of this type. You mentioned real estate. Today, real estate, you can see great pictures, but with the drone, you can get some really detailed pictures from the perspective that you want to have. I envision that drones will be at our control. We'll be able to commission a drone through a website to go inspect a particular home that we're interested in, and to fly all around that home, possibly even inside of the home. So drones are going to add a lot to the value that we see in the things that we do. And I'm quite optimistic about them. They're getting less expensive, more accurate. Soon we'll be able to control them. Some of them will be autonomous, and we'll be able to send them on a mission to deliver a package. But more importantly, how about delivering medical supplies to to people in Africa that don't have access to good medical care?
Yes.
They can get a diagnosis. They can also get the drugs, which today often is just not possible.
Yeah, and it would seem like it's going to be faster delivery for medical care anywhere in the world. Because if, again, here in Orlando, we have a thing called traffic. And sometimes, like many cities around the world, it's just congested, and what would be a 15, 20-minute ride late at night where there's no traffic could easily be an hour or longer. Well, by having drones that could deliver needed medical supplies quickly somewhere, we're really literally talking about saving lives. But now there are some concerns that I think that we need to address. And you talk about these in the book also. It's not like, oh, golly gee, everything is good. I think like with that, my example of Og and inventing the fire, yeah, fire can be good, but yes, it can be dangerous. One of the things that got my attention on that is you also talked about facial recognition and how that could be used. There are concerns that people have of, hey, if we have a government that can identify quickly who you are, ooh, that might not be good if that government has it out for you. and they think, oh, you're on the wrong side of this political thing. We're just going to make sure that you are identified quickly where you are, and something be real terrible if be a real shame if something bad were to happen to you. You know what I'm saying? Talk to us about how that relates to our technology and concerns and ways we can put in safeguards for things like facial recognition and others.
Yeah, facial recognition is emerging very, very rapidly. And the reason is because the amount of data is growing so rapidly, and the capacity of the cloud to store this data and the algorithms and the artificial intelligence is getting so good that it can really take just a quick look and, okay, that's Terry Brock, I know. And by the way, what's he doing here? Where is he going? How often has he been here? So it is a mixed blessing. I think most people would say, you know, if I can get on the airplane more quickly at Orlando International Airport instead of waiting in line for an hour and a half, yeah, I'm okay with that. You know, I just look into that camera, it knows me, it says, okay, Mr. Brock, you're ready to board. But on the other hand, do I really want that facial recognition tracking me every time I walk down the street? Not necessarily. So there is a regulatory issue here, and I think it must be addressed. San Francisco, as an example, has banned facial recognition in the city. I think they went too far, because there are occasions when we might know, for example, that a person who is intending great harm is on the loose and is in San Francisco. And if we can find that person and tell the police authority where that person is, why wouldn't we want that? That could be quite helpful. But on the other hand, we don't want to track people needlessly and be suspicious of them or segregate them in some way just because we can. So
this raises some good points on that.
It really does need regulation. And Microsoft and other companies are calling for regulation. And our political leaders haven't quite got their head around this yet, but I'm hopeful that they will.
Yeah, I think we need to have some open discussion on it. I think now's the time for that, because as with any technology, we need to look at it, see there's good. Imagine what was developing when aviation really started growing. People died in the early days of aviation, and unfortunately still today we do, but it's a lot safer now in the safest form of transportation. I think we can see some parallels between that and other technologies. I think the facial recognition has some potential. I like the idea, for instance, in a hotel. If I could walk into a hotel and I don't have to wait in a long line. Maybe it's late at night. You and I have both done this in our speaking. You arrive at really late hour. You're really worn out, one of those kind of flights, and it's raining. You just want to check into your room and you want to be done with it. It'd be nice to be able to walk up and they go, and we see who you are. Oh, this is John Patrick. His room is room 2749. Here's the key. You walk in and you might not even need a key because you just show your face and you're in. But I also want to stop those cameras. I don't want them inside my hotel room. And I think that's where we have to use judgment. Yes, I might want them in the lobby of the hotel, maybe on the halls, perhaps. We can talk about the pros and cons of that. But in my room, no, I don't want cameras in the room. What are your thoughts on the limits and the parameters on that?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. You know, in the past, hotel executives have said, well, actually what people want is they want to be greeted personally by a person at the desk. Well, you just gave the example of arriving late at night and tired. You're really not interested in having small talk with a person at the desk. You want to get to your room and get in the room as soon as possible. And the technology can make that possible. And this is happening. This is under development. People are adopting it and testing it. As you say, we've got to get the right balance. We want to enhance the check-in experience, get you into the room as quickly as possible, and then turn the camera off. We don't need any assistance. We don't need to be watched in the room.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm sure that hotel executives would feel the same way. They would, you know, one story saying that the hotel spied on me would be extremely negative for that hotel. So they're going to be wise to that.
Yeah, I think that it's a good idea to give people choice. That there are times I check in, I want to just get to the room and crash. There are other times, I would like to know a little bit about this or that. I want to talk to a human being. If you gave me the choice of checking in with a person, or I could use a facial recognition, and maybe I could use a facial recognition and it would connect me via like a Zoom or Skype to a place where people are there 24/7 that can help me. I could say, well, I'm at the Baltimore airport, the Baltimore Marriott here at First in Maine, and I need to know where is a sushi place nearby. They could quickly do that, probably faster than that long line there at the desk. And I think if we use our heads on this, think it through rather than going in with one side saying, no, we're going to ban it, or hey, we'll do whatever. I think your approach is very healthy.
Yeah, and of course the exploration of the hotel and the surrounding area and the restaurants, et cetera, you can do all that before you get there. So by the
Yeah.
time you arrive, you're educated. You know exactly what you're getting into, and you just really want to facilitate that check-in as quickly as possible. So there are many benefits to facial recognition. It clearly can help us make things more convenient, more expeditious, et cetera. But as we, I think, both agree, it really does need some common sense applied, and there has to be some regulation to this. Generally speaking, government regulation is not necessarily a great thing, but this technology is so powerful. We've never had anything like this before. This is way beyond fire and way beyond the evolution of the automobile, perhaps way beyond even the internet. And so artificial intelligence ultimately may be smarter than we are. And so we really have to be cautious. We have to gain the benefits. We have to apply a positive attitude to look at the situation and how can we apply this technology to make things better, as opposed to just letting it grow unfettered and potentially cause great harm.
Yeah. I think now is the time for that. First of all, study and to inquiry, look at what's happening, and then for amicable discussion, not the arguing and what we see too often, but to look at it and to wonder, what is the best way to do this? Do we need regulation? I think, yeah, we all do. Hey, I regulate my own life. You know what I'm going to do. I regulate my exercise. I regulate the food. And I think we need to look at how should we do that? Do we want to trust a capricious government that we might not like doing these kind of regulations on us versus stepping back and letting people do this in a free market way with themselves? And I think now is the time for some candid, open, personable discussion about these topics. And those of you that are watching this, this is a book I highly recommend that you get to be aware of what's going on. I found it enjoyable. I read it twice and found so many good points in there, and it's going to be a reference for me, because I can go back and look at it in many, many different ways. Dr. John Patrick, you have done an amazing job with all of your books. And this one, again, I think you cranked it up to another notch on there. Before we let you go, though, we'd love to do this. I would love to do this for about 6 hours, but I don't think we'd be able to do that. But any other points that you want to make about robotics or the other topics you discussed there? And any final words that you would leave for those that are saying, I don't know, I'm still kind of concerned about robots? What would you say to them?
Well, if you're concerned, then definitely read Robot Attitude, because you'll find that it does look at the positive side. The glass is half full, not half empty. And there are many, many benefits that are not obvious that I tried to cover and make easy to understand by the layperson. It's not a technical book. It's a book for people to be able to read and understand, oh, now I understand what artificial intelligence, now I understand what it really is. Now I understand what robots can do and how they can help us. So I think Robot Attitude will perhaps give a lot of readers a new attitude about these technologies and conclude, yes, I'd like to embrace it, not fight it, and not fear it. Also, I'd like to make people aware that with this book, with things changing so fast, obviously I couldn't get everything into the book. So I created a companion website. It's called robotattitude.info.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've got that available. Would it be all right if we share that, share a screen on that?
Absolutely, please do.
I'd like to do that. There we go. And now you should be able to see it, and our viewers can as well. Is that on your screen there, John?
It is. Yes.
Yeah, go ahead and tell us about this.
Yeah, so the idea here was to provide an ongoing capability for people to see, well, I wonder what's new with robots. And I've already been to johnpatrick.com and bought the book and read the book, but what's new since I read the book? Well, robotattitude.info is designed with exactly that purpose in mind. It has videos, it has articles, and it has tutorials and courses that are available for people to really make a deep dive on the subject and learn a lot more about it.
Yeah, I noticed that the courses here, machine learning offered by Stanford. That sounds really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great, there's another one. It's just a 15-minute simple tutorial on what machine learning is all about. We have all this data, we have all these algorithms. How does it actually work? How do we make sense out of all this data? There's a great tutorial there, 15 minutes long. It will explain that and make it, oh, now I understand what machine learning in artificial intelligence, now I understand what it's all about.
Yeah, I like that. Matter of fact, those of you watching this, this is where you want to go. Notice it's robot attitude as one word, .info, I-N-F-O. Here's a URL up there. And I bounced over here and saw several of the videos. Really good job on selecting those videos, showing here's how they're using it. Like, for instance, in pizza making. I looked at that and thought, yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And now you can deploy the people into other areas, in less dangerous areas, and in something that, well, really, we can get a robot to do that better in other areas too. So thank you for putting this together. This has some incredibly good ideas with it as we look at where we are, what's happening with it, and the kind of applications of what's available. And so any final words before, what would you say as people are heading out the door before we let you go?
Well, I should make mention that there are policy issues which are addressed in Robot Attitude.
Yes.
There's no question that robots and artificial intelligence are creating a lot of new jobs, millions of new jobs, but they also, over time, will eliminate the need for many jobs. In many cases, people will be able to be redeployed into an area that for a long time a company may wanted to have deployed people, but just didn't have the people available to do it. Now with robots taking over certain areas, okay, now I can move those people. But in some cases, people will not be redeployable because they may not be trainable. They may not have the skills necessary to move into new areas. So as this happens, and in the future, at some point it will happen, what do we do? How do we help those people survive in an economy which is increasingly being controlled and being fulfilled through robots and artificial intelligence? There's some concepts called universal basic income. It's highly controversial. I took a very nonpartisan, I hope, balanced view about this. What are the good things about it? What are the bad things about it? But it's something that has to be addressed because there will be, unfortunately, more jobs displaced than new jobs created. So in the short term, very positive. It's going to help in healthcare. It's going to help in home healthcare. We're going to have companions that are robots. It's going to be a very positive thing. But as we look to the future, there are things to be concerned about. And I tried to hit them head on.
I think you did a good job on that. I think it's very balanced in what you said. I looked at it and reading through it, I thought, oh, I like that. Other areas I'd look at, I thought, I'd like to think about that a little bit more and discuss that with you. So thanks for encouraging us to begin the discussion, to go even deeper, to look at something that is definitely affecting us. It'd be like putting our hands over our ears and going, la, 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 saying, I don't want to do the internet a few years ago. Well, we've got to address it. And you've done that in a beautiful way. John Patrick, thank you very much for writing the book. And thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Terry. Great questions.
Oh, you bet. Well, and those of you that are joining us, I want you to take a look at this. This book really is good. It's affecting our lives, robotics, 3D printing, universal basic income, all of these. And you're going to get a chance to see a lot of different perspectives there. John Patrick is known for making it understandable so that lay people like me can understand it and go, oh, yeah, that makes sense, and showing the facts and the evidence. And I think there's a lot of good in that. I'm Terry Brock at terrybrock.com. Thank you for being with us today.